On the show today, we meet adorable baby Nora and her parents, and a dear friend Shamin, who talk about inclusion.
He looked at Vivek and he's like, I think your daughter may have Down syndrome.
The world needs to become more inclusive. People always say you need to accept people. Acceptance is not our call. You just include them.
Absolutely.
They feel accepted automatically.
So every child has their strengths, has their differences, as we do as adults. Any child with any difference, they're children first. Their difference or disability comes later.
In today's day and age, I like to believe inclusion, celebrating differences, understanding that every child is special, every person is special, and everyone's a star. I like to believe that all our kids are learning that, understanding that, and growing up with that empathy. But when you meet a family that's actually walking the talk, it is really inspirational. Today we have with us the beautiful Pooja,
Hi.
her amazing husband Vivek, and their gorgeous little daughter Nora. Hi! Hi! And Nora has Down syndrome. And it's been incredible for me simply through Instagram and through our common friend Tejal to be introduced to them and realize that often these things like inclusion are easier said than done, but they're really changes in perceptions and mindsets that we need to help raise awareness about. And these people are doing it every day, breaking stereotypes. And it's a pleasure to have you guys here with us today.
Thank you for having us.
So let's start at the very beginning. So who should we ask a question to first? Nora,
Papa,
you tell
because
me.
Mama
Who-
can just start crying. So
should we ask Mama or should we ask Papa or should we ask Nora? No?
Okay.
So let's start with Mama. So Pooja, when you were pregnant and soon after actually when you first held little Nora, tell us what happened and what your emotions were, or just tell us about that.
So like any other mom, I was like completely exhilarated. Like, oh my God, she's finally here. She was early 6 weeks. And my entire pregnancy was pretty tough. I was completely on bed rest. And it was like all over the place. And we were supposed to go out for dinner that very night. And I was like, yay, finally, after like 7 months, I'm going to go out. And she decided to knock us in. My delivery was very easy, was very comfortable.
Did you know through the pregnancy that there was anything?
We didn't know during the pregnancy anything was different for Nora. And everything was completely normal, natural, as per any pregnancy goes. Apart from me being on bed rest, everything else was normal. When Nora was born, we had the doctors looking at each other like, okay. And there was a bit of silence in the room, but obviously there was so many feelings going on at that point in time, you don't even think about it.
Yeah, the euphoria of holding a little baby and the excitement of that. I mean, I still think of that moment and it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So after that?
Yeah, but then she was born late at night. So early next morning, we were deciding on names and, just the regular stuff. Like what's going to happen next? What are we going to do next? And we have to still get the crib and, general discussions.
Yeah.
And the pediatrician walked in, Nora's doctor walked in to check up on her. And he called Vivek first. He looked at Vivek and he's like, I think your daughter may have Down syndrome. And I was going to walk in just like 15 seconds later and he came back and he held my hand and he's like, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. And I'm like, wait, what happened? In the NICU, what happened?
Yeah.
And you think of the worst.
Yeah.
And then you go and then, he looked at us and he's like, I think your daughter may have Down syndrome. And I'm like, okay, that wasn't the worst. I mean, what I was thinking was still not worse than what was told to me.
Yeah. Did you know anything about Down syndrome when he said that?
I did know about Down syndrome, but just basic stuff, nothing that was, extraordinarily or something that I was aware of or anything.
So now,
That's
just for the
about it.
sake of honestly all our audience, and not about dumbing anyone down at all, but just so that we know what exactly is Down syndrome.
We all have 46 chromosomes in our body, which is a pair of each. 23 pairs that we have.
Yeah.
Nora has an extra chromosome on the 21st pair.
You have something extra, Nora. See, your mama and daddy say that you're a big, big, big gift, which you are. So there's something, you have an extra chromosome. So that's what Down syndrome is.
Yes, she has an extra copy of the 21st chromosome on her 21st pair. That term is defined as Down syndrome because it was found by the doctor.
So
Dr.
what was the emotion that you felt when he said that?
I was heartbroken. I was shattered. I was like, the world is, come to an end.
What about you, Vivek? You went and you told Pooja, right? So you knew first. So I know that you, from whatever I've seen on Instagram and whatever I've read about both of you and seen, you're very calm and composed. And I know Pooja calls you her rock. So what were you feeling inside?
You know, anytime we all go in crisis mode, we have to kind of remember that, okay, so a news has been broken to us and now we need to figure out what we need to do. I only had two people that I needed to take care of, was Nora and Pooja. Nobody else. You know, family, yes, everybody has their own set of emotions. Every mother, every parent thinks that, oh, my child, my child. So that's really my instinct kicked in. I have come across kids who have Down syndrome. I've lived in different countries, so I, have interacted with them. The inclusion, I've seen that kind of inclusion. So I just told her, like, you know what, there's a box, there's a dream. Every mother, you're a mother, you had a dream for your child, that, you're a perfect child in your head. I said, only that box has changed. That's it. Nothing else has changed. That one box, just fill it with new dreams, new hopes, and that's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and I think that is so beautiful, as you said, quoting Pooja, where she says that everyone's normal is different.
It's different.
And I think that's such a beautiful line, because that's so true. In today's day and age, rather, there's nothing like normal, right? We're all normal in our own way, and everyone's different and everyone's special. And I think you guys really live that. So what about your family? Grandparents, your parents, how did they react?
Every parent was heartbroken because they didn't know. The thing is, you fear the unknown more than anything.
Absolutely.
You fear the unknown, and they didn't know. Once they got to know, once they got educated, now everybody is actually awesome. I mean, the entire family, the support system that we have is fantastic.
In fact, I think that's a very important word, when you get educated about it. So I think, like with most things, when it comes to awareness, why are we doing this show? Honestly, it's also to spread awareness about issues in the family space so that we can all grow and learn from them. Nora did so well. Honestly, I don't know many 2-year-olds who would have sat like that. And now she's gone to eat, which was very sweet, because she could tell you that she was hungry, right? So she was properly telling you. So coming back to how your parents reacted.
My father actually was okay, but my mom was dealing with a lot. But eventually she became fine. She saw that I was okay. So I said, this is our thing. Let it be our thing. We'll figure it out and we'll tell you. And then I started educating them, started sending them information about it. And thanks to social media, there's a lot out there.
Absolutely. And I think you came and you showed Pooja people who had Down syndrome, who've been very, very successful. And I think those kind of things are hugely inspirational, right? Which is why we have you guys here as inspirations for anyone out there who may be going through anything similar, anything that seems an obstacle, but when you change your perception is actually a gift, as you say. So when did that change of perception happen for you, Pooja? Like, as you said, that initial thing.
So initially it was all, I guess it was postpartum, plus it was like dealing with a lot of new things, dealing with like a complete different mindset and stuff. But I think over time, it was a gradual shift, because I saw her. It took me a while to see her power through that and not see her diagnosis. But once, I think in a few months, it was just things that she used to do and things that just kids that they do, and you're like, okay, you see, it's hard not to see a child.
Absolutely. I know you do a lot on social media to share your story. How did that begin? Did you guys make a conscious decision that you're going to share and raise awareness, or were you just letting your feelings out?
So I basically wanted to reach out to more moms in the community, in the Down syndrome community, because I wanted a support system and I couldn't find one around. So I started writing about it in hope of finding more people, like-minded people, so I could get the help that I needed. And also because I wanted to connect and see them, how they were doing, their kids were thriving and just living their day-to-day lives. I just started writing about Nora, and I think it just took off from there.
Coming to, honestly, the not so utopic side of things, I'm talking about average people on the street, the reality of that. Not that they mean badly, but I think, as you said, sometimes it's a lack of education and awareness. Do you get some of those looks and those stares and those kind of things?
Sometimes you do, but then we only can empathize because we weren't aware of it ourselves, right? So if we would have been in their situation, maybe we would have seen it differently as well. And we would have been, not so empathetic towards their situation, not understanding how to have that empathy. So it's not like they mean bad, most of them. It's just that they don't know how to address the situation, or maybe they don't know how to take the conversation forward. So they do the best they can, but, I just take it in a positive way, that they're not educated about it. And I was there once myself.
That's a wonderful positive attitude. I'm sure you're being very brave and strong. I'm sure there are times when it's not as
It is. There have been times where it's been like really bad. And then I was like, but you know what? These are the people who are not going to matter, because we need to continue and look, pass through this. Because right now there's a stigma attached to it, but it needs to change.
Absolutely.
And if I get stuck up in the negatives, then I'm never going to be able to move on to what I need to do to get over this. So I just power through that.
Absolutely. That's an amazing, amazing attitude. And Vivek, I'm sure every day you love your wife even more because she's so strong and amazing.
Yeah.
Has this really been, honestly, what has it done for you guys as a relationship?
I still remember the doctor had sent a mental health specialist to talk to Pooja because she started crying, so he thought it was postpartum or whatever. I let her cry it out. I was like,
Of course.
deal with your emotions, it's fine, I'm here. I just sat there. And then afterwards when we started talking, and then eventually she's like, yeah, actually we don't need to talk to anybody. We can talk it out, we'll figure it out. And then I started sending her the videos. So, as a unit, it just started bringing us closer because not only what about Nora, and I've tried to change her from there. It's, her focus had become Nora. I was like, okay, now we have to start looking at, you and I, and let's leave Nora. I think the umbilical cord is still there a little bit.
but that, don't worry. Mine are 10 and 8, and my husband says that to me also. So I think that umbilical cord, everybody's different, and some moms are just weird like me. But what about you?
I don't know. Like I said, for me, it was just about changing that box, and I don't see anything different.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't see it in any kid. What if, it shouldn't happen, but anybody's child, what if they started dealing with something at an age of 6? Then what? Then what would you do? Would you just let your child be, or you would break down? It's not about you, it's about that child.
Absolutely.
People need to not make it about themselves and about the child. That's it.
Coming up.
The idea is to find joy in people and in lives. My dad always said that you may see 99 negative things in a person, but if you find one positive thing, just channel through that and grow your relationship.
People always say you need to accept people. Acceptance is not our call. You just include them.
Absolutely.
They feel accepted automatically.
So on a practical note, when it comes to thinking of the future, is that something that, I won't say frightens you, because I think you guys have really figured it out, but do you guys think of that? And is Nora currently in a school that is very understanding and has the infrastructure to handle and deal with her situation so that she blossoms? What's the...
So as of right now, I take each day as it comes, because I feel like I have so many things on my plate. I have no time to think about the future as of right now. And Nora goes to a very inclusive school. Toddlers Den is a very, very inclusive school. And everyone over there is very happy to have her. She goes there 3 hours a day. She's with other kids who are typical. And so she's having a great time with all her teachers, and everyone is pretty empathetic towards her situation.
With Down syndrome, cognitively, do things take longer, but will she get there, or how does that side work?
So in terms of cognitive and physical skills, Nora is delayed physically because she's 2 years old and she just started walking. Cognitively, she's at par with kids her age as of right now. So it's easier for her to understand and move around kids her age and be at that level because, she's pretty much doing what they are doing.
Right. So I think, last season we had some guests of parents who have autism and ADHD talking about the spectrum and, how there's more and more awareness. Even for someone like me, I feel like you're learning all the time.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if I'm very idealistic, but I like to believe our kids get it.
Yeah.
I find even in their school, it's very inclusive. They have children in class who are different, as special.
Sure.
And the funny thing is, if you ask them, they don't see that.
Yeah, they
yes,
don't.
it's just normal. And that to me is just amazing.
Yeah, he's Vikram, or he's whoever.
Yeah.
Or he's not a kid who has different needs, but he is, whatever, Nora or whatever name you want to take. So that's the beauty of the world today. And I have been, very pleasantly surprised.
When you say inclusion, I know that some schools, they don't have the infrastructure to totally be inclusive. So what are your views on this inclusive school?
I'd really like Nora to be in an inclusive environment, because not only does she learn from her peers, but her peers learn from her as well.
Absolutely.
So her strengths are where they learn from, and their strengths is where she learns from. I think they thrive off each other, and that's important because everyone, we all need to learn that perfection is just the perception. We put everything around which is all hunky-dory. That is not the way of life in the future. So I think that's how we need to teach our kids as well. It's going to be, all 5 fingers aren't the same. So everyone needs to be around each other.
And I think that's why, as I said, we're doing this, because I think for people like all of us, it's a learning experience. And the more we get to know this, hopefully the world will be more inclusive. If you had a wish list of things that you'd like to educate people on, or things you'd like changed, what would you say?
I think the idea is to find joy in people and in lives. It's not about judging people, or it's like you take people for what they are, because we all change, we all grow, we all evolve. So what we are today, we're not going to be 3 years down the line. So take people on face value and just find joy in what we like to do. My dad always said that you may see 99 negative things in a person, but if you find one positive thing, just channel through that and grow your relationships.
That is so amazing. And it's strange because shortly before my father passed away, when he was in ICU and he'd received an award for something, I found a video where he actually says, and he was talking about theatre and plays, and he said that, it's very easy to criticize, so always find the positive, and how actually positivity is a sign of the confidence of a people.
Yes.
The minute you are positive and complimentary, you're actually displaying your own confidence as opposed to pulling anyone down. So I think that's really lovely about don't judge.
Yeah.
And Vivek, anything you would say as a message?
The world needs to become more inclusive, I think. People always say you need to accept people. Acceptance is not our call. You just include them.
Absolutely.
They feel accepted automatically. Inclusion is a very, very important thing in today's day and age. So that's all I want. I know that my daughter is capable enough of achieving anything that she puts her mind to.
Yeah.
But it's as long as she's included.
Absolutely. And that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much. It's been such an inspiring chat. And here's a little Hershey's happiness hamper.
Thank you so much.
All about sharing happiness.
And sweets.
Which you guys are doing. And it's a bit heavy.
It is very heavy.
But I hope you enjoy it. And now Nora is going to do something really special with these fantastic Brainsmith flashcards.
Yeah.
Nora, are you going to show us? No? Come on.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes, say yes.
I know you'll do it. Right?
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah.
Wow.
Steve Jobs.
Yes.
Point.
Wow.
Yeah, she pointed.
Right.
She pointed.
Yeah, she did. She did. That is just amazing. Nori, you are so cool.
Give five. Yay.
Thank you.
Say thank you. How do we say thank you, Nora? Oh, love
I
you.
love
oh,
you.
love you. Okay, she's saying I love you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nori.
She's going to fall asleep.
And as I said, it's all about bringing about positive change, little steps at a time, and you guys are doing so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
for having us and giving us this platform.
Thank you for accepting. Coming up, what exactly is inclusion?
What it really means is that there's a group of people on the inside who are saying or making decisions about who else needs to come into this group. And so I think it's really a word loaded with power, which I'm hoping eventually we don't actually have to talk about.
That's a very good point. I like to believe that we live in a world which is more inclusive. I think all our kids are growing up to understand words like inclusion, but it's so interesting and so important to also hear from experts, because I think a lot of us don't really know. We wear things like inclusion bands, but what does it really mean? So we're thrilled to have with us here today the head of school outreach at Ummeed, which is a wonderful organization for child development. We've got Shamin Mehrotra, who's going to tell us a little bit about inclusion. Thank you, Shamin, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start at the beginning. What exactly is inclusion?
So inclusion, I think, is being accepting of people with diverse needs, differences. The reality is we all live in this space. We wear different clothes, we eat different foods. And we're different, we're not bad. And I think oftentimes different is misconstrued as being bad because you're not part of the norm.
Right.
And it's interesting because the term itself, when we talk about inclusion, it's such a word filled with heft, it's such a word filled with possibility, it's such a word filled with power, because what it really means is that there's a group of people on the inside who are saying or making decisions about who else needs to come into this group.
Absolutely, that's a very good point, because inclusion immediately implies that you need permission to be included.
Part of something.
And we had a wonderful family with a little girl who has Down syndrome on the show, Pooja Norah and Vivek. And Vivek said something very interesting. He said that I don't think it's about people accepting or including. It's just about letting them be part of everything, which everyone should be, and the acceptance just happens.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
reality
they
is
should
you
be-
don't highlight differences.
Absolutely. They should be part of the fabric of society. The fact that there is a term called inclusion, which is now a buzzword, of course, and it's great that people are having conversations about this. So I'm glad more and more people are talking about this, but I'm hoping we'll talk about it and then we'll stop talking about it because we'll stop having the need to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Because every child has their strengths, has their differences, as we do as adults.
Yeah.
And I think part of being in an inclusive world is creating an environment where people feel safe to say that these are their strengths and these are their challenges.
Right.
And supporting people to actually build on their strengths rather than focusing on what they're not so good at.
And I think you mentioned something very interesting when we spoke earlier, where, when people talk about disability, there's a tendency to assume that it's a physically visible disability.
Right.
But the reality is there's so many disabilities that are kind of invisible,
Absolutely.
which possibly also might make it in some ways hard for those people because they're expected to be a certain way, but they may not be. So
Absolutely.
tell us a little bit about that.
So the thing is, disability is something that most people assume is something that I can see. So if I look different means I'm disabled, but the reality is there's a whole world of disabilities out there that are invisible.
Yeah.
So ranging from attention issues to learning disabilities to autism, these are children who look just like other children in the classroom.
Yeah.
And it becomes really hard because it's almost like their disability is being trivialized, their experience is being trivialized because people don't understand what they go through because they look just like any other kid. So I think it's really important to build awareness about these facts that these are kids who are not out to get their teachers. These are kids who are not just, running around because they want to create trouble.
Right.
These are kids who probably have genuine difficulties.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to really understand where these kids are coming from, understand what their strengths are. At Ummeed, we really believe in working with a strengths-based approach.
Yeah.
And part of what we do is really, instead of focusing on what the challenges are, really how can we support these kids to build on their strengths?
What are some of the simple steps that people can encourage their kids, or even for parents? What are the simple things that you would recommend to be more, I won't say inclusive, but to be more accepting and more open to difference?
Yeah. And I think it begins at home. I think it's what kids see their parents do, the way they see their kids talk about it. And I think it's really just, normalizing the process that, this child is different, you're different. But I think what people can do generically is to not have a sense of entitlement. Because I think, when I work with mainstream schools and, I have kids with differences in the classroom, oftentimes kids, teachers, parents, everyone in the school system will say, oh, poor thing, they can be part of the class. But they're not poor thing. They deserve to be in the class. They have every right to be in the class.
Yeah.
And you're not doing this child a favor. In fact, you're learning as much. Your child is learning as much. You as a parent, as a family, all are learning as much. So I think it's a two-way street. It's a two-way process. So I think I would tell parents that you really need to start, in the true sense, understanding what accepting diversity means. Not just say we're accepting diversity. Accepting diversity doesn't mean we're sharing the same physical space.
Yeah.
It means truly engaging with these people meaningfully. And I think schools should do whatever they can. The reality in this country is that there are so many under-resourced schools.
Right.
That we can't expect schools to suddenly have all the money and the infrastructure to support every single child's needs or every need of every child. But you can do small little things in small little ways to make a big difference.
Yeah.
The biggest piece of that is just have an attitude where you feel that children deserve to be in this classroom. I think it begins from there because even if in the immediate you can't really support, you can certainly not make it worse.
And I think you said something so interesting that it goes both ways because other kids learn so much from them as well.
Absolutely.
I've seen, autistic kids with honestly the most amazing art skills, things like that, which, has really always amazed me. And then I've seen kids learning from those kids, and kids are actually honestly so open to acceptance. I find it's sadly society that channelizes and changes perception.
And I think that's the great thing, that kids are actually open to differences.
Yeah.
It's when they see people around them react in different ways or saying that, oh, we need to do it in this particular way and this child needs to be, like this. That's when the, disability aspect, so to speak, comes in because then it's limiting this child's participation. It's excluding this child from so many things.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that we learn from kids, but to do that, we need to have an open mind and an open attitude. Why don't people cringe when a child in school needs glasses? I mean, would it be considered unfair that other kids don't have glasses? No, this particular child needs it, those kids don't. And it's similar for a math need, it's similar for an English need, it's similar for an attention need. It could be anything.
Yeah.
But those are just not normalized yet. We're hoping to get to a truly inclusive world where these things will be part of the fabric of society and they will be a normal part of being.
I think I may be idealistic, but I think we're getting there. I
getting
think
there.
every little step helps, and I think the fact that there's so many conversations like this happening, I think it's, you know, it's a great step. So on that note, thank you so much, Shamin. And any one tip you'd like to give anyone out there, parents, kids, anyone, about being more inclusive, just one final.
I'd like to say that, you know, any child with any difference, they're children first, their difference or disability comes later. So keep in mind that they're just little kids, you know, and it's okay to be different.
Thank you so much, Shamin. That was really, really eye-opening. And on that note, I'd like to give you a gift. It's a Hershey's Happiness Hamper.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I hope you
Thank
enjoy
you for having
that.
me. Thank you.
Wow, Nora answered all the flashcards correctly. That is just amazing. Nori, you are so cool.
Give five.
Thank you. Welcome to the finale episode of the Tara Sharma Show Season 5. The guests have been incredible. It's truly superseded all my expectations.
See, everyone works really hard, but you should work hard in the right direction and stay out of trouble.
It takes a lot of us time to understand and value that being different is good.
If a young boy or a young girl has self-belief, they think that they can do it, that's the only opinion that matters.
To create that atmosphere where everybody can say what they want is very important.
Family to me is the most important thing.
Absolutely. For the first time, we actually launched the first look of a new book, the lovely Esha Deol Takhtani's book on motherhood and toddler recipes. There's a lot of each to their own. So what works for one person may or may not work for someone else. But sharing and helping each other is always welcome.
I had so much that I wanted to share and write that we had to finally make it a book.
Thank you all so much, and thank you, our viewers. So it's a bittersweet moment to be saying bye. I'm pretty sure we're going to be back with the Tara Sharma Show Season 6 soon. Ta-ra, ta-ra, ta-ra.